Hello, I'm Laura Fox, the Guru's Ghost, and I am here with Jana Niksa. She is an international best-selling author, speaker, and the founder of High Ticket Clients on Repeat. She's the creator of the Six-Figure Blueprint. For over 2 decades, she was a top-performing sales executive, the #1 closer in the nation. With 40,000 sale calls under her belt, she has sold multi-millions, and her main strategy was that she never did it the way they told her to. Despite the fact that early on in her career, she struggled with the pushy sales approach, she decided to break the rules and do it her way. She is now considered the master of authentic selling and the conversion queen. She is walking proof that you can be successful, create incredible offers that change lives, sell them with ease and flow, and lead with an open heart. And now she shows others how to do the same. When you listen to her speak, you will immediately realize that she is one of the most heartfelt and powerful communicators you've ever heard. Please welcome the conversion queen, Jana Niksa.
Thank you, Laura. I'm so happy to be here and to serve your audience. This means a lot, so thank you.
Well, I'm really glad to be speaking with you, Jana. Yeah, and I am wondering, how did you become the conversion queen?
Oh, well, it started way back when I was in 2002. I started my sales career, and I struggled like crazy because they told me what I had to say and how I had to say it. And it was so uncomfortable for me. And I don't know if your audience can relate, but I know there are a lot of open-hearted entrepreneurs out there. And I was always that I just couldn't get on board with the manipulation and the force and the push and the me. And it's really kind of funny. I'm not even sure how, other than just fortuitous. I don't even know how I ended up in a sales job, but I did. And what ended up happening is I really felt like I was on the verge of getting fired because I just could not bring myself, or when I did do it, it felt, I don't know if anybody can relate, any of the listeners, that I felt like so much not myself. I'm sure if there was somebody recording me, I was visibly uncomfortable, stuttering through my words, right? Because it just it wasn't aligned. It didn't feel authentic to me at all. So I'm thinking I'm going to get fired. And a hurricane, unfortunately, hit my territory. And the middle of my territory was like a bullseye. And what ended up happening is a lot of the places, the customers that I was calling on were either out of commission for a while, or they were in trailers, they were relocated. It was a big scramble. And so, in that moment, we have those moments in our life, right, where we're thinking, okay, this is it. Either I'm done or I got to go about this a different way, because obviously the way I was doing it wasn't working. They can't fire me now. That would look really bad. We're going to fire you, even though your territory's, in the crap now, and people are all stressed out and lost their homes, and we're going to fire you on top of it. So I knew that they wouldn't do that. So it really opened up a door for me to really go about it my way. So it was such a gift. I was reminded of a quote by one of my mentors back in college. And she said, Jana, life is 10% what is handed to you and 90% how you react to it. And I know, the spiritual entrepreneurs are out there of course, but you got to remember, at this point, I was 22 years old. I didn't know this stuff, but I had enough to know that I could either make lemonade or just, tuck my tail between my legs and quit. So long story short, I just decided to do it my way. And so I started showing up, and instead of worrying about quotas and numbers and let me get my message in and me, I started talking just about them. Just started, hey, how are you? Just human to human. And what ended up happening quite quickly was when I approached people really, truly, I know a lot of people say sales is service, but they don't really mean it. But at this point, I did. It was 100% what I meant, because there was no selling going on. There was no quotas being met. It was just me like I said, human to human with this other person. And so I really just started leaning into what did they need? Like, how could I be of service? How could I help? And it was interesting just over time showing up in that way with just like pure intention, no strings attached. All of a sudden people would just start, hey, tell me about your stuff. And I'd be like, really? You know, you were running from me 6 months ago. Like, oh my gosh, here comes this pushy salesperson. And now you want to like know about, you know, my stuff or my product. And so it's quite the opposite. What I work with my clients on is quite the opposite of what we've been taught. And so no matter where I took this particular approach, it's more of a feminine based approach to sales. And no matter what company or what products, or, you know, now working with clients in the coaching industry and in the healing space, it just works. And so it's just really interesting that so many people still, when they think of sales or when they are teaching sales, they think of that like used car salesman. But that's just one way. That's just a way. It's not the way. And so a big part of my mission, because I'm getting to the answer to your question, is to help people open up to the fact that that's actually can be true for them. That sales doesn't have to feel pushy, sleazy, or forceful at all. In fact, whenever you step into that energy, you may as well just walk away, because that's just not where you want to be at all. So I would ascertain that as long as you keep their what they want more important than what you want, then you can truly be of service to them. And so the conversion queen came because I've just had so much experience doing this. I was in the sales world for over 20 years. So when some of these sales gurus, you're like, I've done 5,000 sales calls, or I've done, 1,000 sales calls. I was like, gosh, I wonder how many I've done. And I added it up one day and it was 40,000. And so when I told my mentor that, she's like, oh my gosh, you're the sales queen, or you're in, of course, sales queen was taken, right? It's trademark. So we had to come up with something else. But so that's kind of where that came from. And it really is all about doing it differently. I feel very, very passionate about that, because I know when you and I've talked about this, a lot of people in the healing, in the wellness space, I work with people and they really shy away from that. And I understand, but just know that there's another way to do it that actually feels good and really truly helps people, because that's ultimately what we're here to do.
Yeah. So from the conversion queen to the authentic sales coach.
Yes.
So you started mentoring other people to do what you figured out. And what was your aha moment along your journey that led you to becoming a multidimensional business mentor?
Well, so, if I back into my sales days, I had a spiritual awakening about 2014, 2013, somewhere in there. And all of a sudden, even though I was sales was easy at that point, just good income, kind of just sort of let it coast. I just had my second baby, and all of a sudden I had started meditating, and I had this voice coming in, and it was like, there's more for you. And I was like, what? No. Like, I'm number 1 or 2 in the country right now. Like, we're good. Like, let's just, but it was relentless. Maybe some of you listening can relate to that. I thought I'd found it, like, this is what I'm going to be doing. And then all of a sudden it was like overnight, it was like my whole world opened up. And so I started just doing things on the side, like different healing modalities. I certified as a meditation coach and did NLP and hypnosis. I just got so fascinated with what we're really capable of as human beings, and what we're just playing so small. And so, for the next several years while I figured out whatever this next thing was going to be, I still worked and did all of this stuff on the side because it's just fascinating and fun. So I finally hired my first coach in 2018. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. You say use my genius zone, which is this feminine, more conscious, heart-based sales process. But my passion is helping people, like maybe a lot of you listening, that I just want to help people heal. I want to help people to be who they came here to be. I want them to wake up to all that they are, And this coach lovingly just said, why don't you do both? And it was just such a aha moment at the time. But looking back, it's kind of like, duh, because sales does require a lot of inner work, because we do have to contend with, fear of rejection, perfectionism, self-worth, money, all of these things and there's a huge wound in the wellness community, in the spiritual community around charging and money and, value and all of that. And so we really do have to find our way through if we're going to have a consistent, successful business. And so that's where it was really important to me to not just be any sales coach, because I really I consider myself a different breed, no judgment, but just from what you think of when you think of sales coaches. So the authentic sales coach was just my way of being like, give me a chance. I promise I'm not what you think. And so it was really important to me to try to capture that somehow, because my tagline is I love to mix the woo and the do. And so it fit in really nicely as well with the whole authentic sales coach thing, because it is kind of the opposites, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. You mentioned that that in your work you help people deal with inner challenges that kind of block them from being able to sell authentically. The fears and doubts, the money wounds. What are some of those big challenges that you see, and how do you help people overcome them?
So I think the first one we have to overcome typically with my clients is what they think sales has to be. It's you got to remember, and this is not a knock at men or anything out there, but the sales approach that most of us think of when we think of selling was created for men by men a long time ago, like 100+ years ago. We were in an entirely different level of consciousness back then. And not to mention women weren't doing that role. And so we have to undo some of that programming by helping people see, look, it's actually, try this one on. It's actually more selfish and being more in fear by not offering your offer lovingly to somebody that you can help. If somebody's in the desert and you're sitting there, with your gigantic jug of water and you don't go, hey, I have this thing, would you like to hear about it? Would you like some water? And so we have to start to see it through a different lens and what it really can be, because we're about healing people. We're about transforming lives. And we can't not speak about it in fear of sounding salesy. And so that's sort of the first hurdle we have to get over. And then from there, once people are like, okay, like I'm open, I see that I could perceive this through a different lens and from a different perspective, that I'm actually giving into my own fears by not being more vocal about what I do and how I help and how I can help you. And now it becomes, okay, so how do I communicate? Like, how do I charge? How do I have money conversations? Another big one is fear of rejection. And so we really have to break all this stuff down. And some of it's deep, rejection. And am I good enough to charge this much? And is it wrong because we also have a lot of money blocks around, money's the root of all evil. And, you're greedy, rich people are greedy, and all of these things that we really have to, if we want to have a successful business, we can't run along saying we want one thing, but believing we need another. And so it's really important to go into some of those spaces. And, that's kind of where some of that meditation coach comes in, where we can go deeper and start to rewire some of these beliefs and let go and release those that are not serving us in our business.
Wow. So it sounds like you really go deep with your clients, helping them overcome these challenges. That's
I do. I
Yeah.
do. It's my favorite part, strategy and skills on the outside. Those are important to running a business, but the healing work that goes along with it is my favorite.
Yeah. And I know that you have an event coming up. Do you want to tell us about it?
I do. So it's called Limitless Expansion. And it is all about creating your most aligned high ticket offer that you then can go and offer to your clients. And if people are out there like, oh, high ticket here, I'll break it down like this. I don't want to quote like the gurus, but there are certain things that are just true, whether it's in the bro marketing and sales space or otherwise. And one of those is when people pay, when they invest, when they say yes to themselves, they're invested in themselves. So they show up, they do the work, right? It's a different level of value that you can offer when you're working with people in that high ticket space. It also opens up more space for you as the practitioner, because you're not like, oh my gosh, yes, I got to get done with you so I can go make my next $100. You know what I mean? Like, you have the space to really hold space for your people, because you're no longer just like, running on empty. And so it's really what we're going to be talking about is how to put together that offer in a way that really deeply aligns with you. And then we'll talk about like how to bring in other people into that offer too, so that you just feel it just lights you up to sell it. And not just that, I have different ways to help your audience look at what other people are study, kind of what other things are working in their space, so that not only is it something that's a value, it's something that will convert, because that's something I see a lot. We create offers that we want, but not really with the mindset of what our clients want. And sometimes that's why it doesn't sell. And it doesn't even have to do so much with sales skills. It just has to do with you created something that's beautiful, but doesn't speak to your ideal client. So those are a lot of the different things we're going to walk through in helping. And, by the end of the masterclass, it will really be, you'll have a high ticket offer that you put together. And so I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. Wow. I want to circle back to something you said that really resonated with me. And it's that, yes, you should have a high ticket offer. Some people might think that they, oh, I don't need to charge that much. When I first started ghostwriting, I had this thing where I was like, well, I don't need very much to live on, and I just want to make sure that everybody can afford it. And so I charged very, very little. And because I was charging so little, I wasn't able to give myself the time to work on the book that it deserved. So I had to do extra side jobs. I got sick. I couldn't afford to feed my animals and had to take out a payday loan. So, yes, serious stuff. Yeah, your work is valuable, and you need to, create the space for it, and that means putting a high ticket on it.
Absolutely.
I was doing the author and the book a disservice by not charging enough because I wasn't giving myself the space to work on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so true. Thank you for sharing your story. And it's so common. We
Yeah.
think we're doing people a favor by charging less, but it's actually, by and large, 9 times out of 10, not, because they won't show up. I mean, think of it this way. We have all these like expensive trainers out there now and, like boutique gyms, but where are you going to put more effort in? If you hire a trainer for $500 a month or a week or whatever it may be versus a $30 membership to the gym. And so we
Mhm.
do not only do I do ourselves as the provider a disservice to the perfect, beautiful example that you shared, we're also doing a disservice to them. Because I
Yeah.
can promise you that client is not going to work nearly as hard for a $30 membership as they would with a personal trainer. Or
That's
even
true.
at one of those higher end gyms where you've got eyes on you, right? They're going to, or they text you when you don't show up.
Yeah.
Well, I've invested, in many high ticket programs, and the low ticket ones, I may or may not even open. Like it just
Mhm.
depends on my time. But the high ticket ones, I am there. The homework is done. I am present and I am ready. And so
Yeah.
if you don't have that available, it's not for everybody. And that's what some of the lower ticket stuff can be for. But it is for people. There are high ticket people out there, high ticket buyers that truly want that level. And
Yeah.
so we can't let our own fears stand in the way of helping people and serving them at the level they need in order to get the results. And
Mhm.
some of them aren't going to get it with the $30 membership. They're just
Yeah.
not. And
Yeah.
so we have to make our service to our clients bigger than our fear.
That's so true. Yeah. Jana, a lot of our listeners are working on books, or maybe they've written books and they're putting them out in the world, or they're dreaming of writing books. They're somewhere along that journey. Um, and I know that people are wondering, how can my book support my high ticket offering?
Yes, such a great question. And there's a couple different things to think about. First of all, the book Eat, Pray, Love came to mind for me when you said that.
Mhm.
And I know we've talked a little bit about this before, and I hadn't even thought about that, but that book changed me. That was probably one of the catalysts that started my awakening. And had she had a high ticket offer to go along with that, I would have been like, I just need to be in your space. Tell me what happened. I want to understand, how did you do it? But
Yeah.
so what these stories do, especially if it's something, in the healing space or even in the business building spaces, when we can tie our story and our journey to a lesson that they need to learn, then it becomes something that people want to invest in, not only, for entertainment reasons, but because they're going to get lessons out of this that will help them, do better at whatever the thing is that they're trying to do. And,
Mhm.
speaking of that high ticket buyer, when you have that lower ticket item like a book out there, when you tie these lessons into, let's say, building a business and being resilient and the healing that goes on, it gives people such a insight into your world, but also, how your steps are going to be very similar to the steps you can take them through. And so, tying it back into how you serve people and offering them these different levels. I mean, it's just a great way to bring people into your world and help let them get to know you in your process. And
Mhm.
and so that's a big part of how I see books fitting into, I don't ever want to minimize books, but your offering funnel or your offer ladder, basically,
Mhm.
because everybody's going to come in at different price points and different spaces. But so long as we have them in the different offerings to support that, it's a great way to meet people where they are. And then they get to up level and elevate to some of these higher offerings that you have. So that's really where I see it fitting in. And there's also sorts of different models as to how to do that, like everything from like the free pay with shipping, and then of course you're speaking about your course kind of stuff, and then all the way to really just having people buy it outright, but just knowing that when they read this, they're just going to automatically want more,
Mm-hmm.
So there's all sorts of different models around it, but it's a wonderful way to bring people into your world.
Nice. Wow. Yeah, there are a lot of different ways to do it, as you said. Yeah, well, I know for one, I am looking forward to your workshop.
Thank you.
It's on the 11th, June 11th.
June 11th.
And, yep, I'm all signed up and I'll be there. And if you want information on how to get to the workshop, and if you want to learn more about Jana, how can people contact you?
So all of my handles are the Authentic Sales Coach, and I have a link, I believe, to drop after this video to the workshop itself. I will alert to your attention, and I know Laura's signed up for VIP. If you can, sign up for the VIP, because then you get to be in the Zoom room with me and you can ask questions. Because when we're creating offers or doing any sort of coaching, walking people through steps, it's so nice to be able to clarify. And whereas the general session will be streamed or into a Facebook group, so that's something to be on the lookout for. And you get an extra hour with me purely for questions, and just a couple extra added bonuses as well. So find me at theauthenticsalescoach.com. Find me on any of the social media handles. Where I'm most active is on Facebook, and I definitely would love to see. I can't wait to see you there, and I hope some of your audience that's listening is like, I'm ready. I'm ready to see what I'm capable of, and I'm ready to really step into that next level in my business.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jana.
You're so welcome. Thank you, Laura. It was a pleasure.
Yes. Looking forward to the 11th. Okay, bye.